Okay, what's up, guys? I want to show you some pretty cool stuff that you can do here with Beatmaker 3. What I've done is I've just taken a whole bunch of techno drum one-shots that I'm into, and I've loaded them into a whole bunch of pads here. I've MIDI'd up the Novation Launchpad Pro to correspond with the 64 pads so that I can program some beats and play some drums. And I've assigned the 16 macros from the Novation Launch Control to the 16 macros inside of Beatmaker 3. And I've programmed some techno drums here and done some really creative mapping with the macros. For instance, we're going to add some reverb to the hi-hats with macro 1. We're going to add some reverb to the percussion with macro 2. We're going to add some reverb to the clap and snare with macro 3. Macro 4 takes the hats and the ride volume down. Macro 5 takes the clap and the snare volume down. Macro 6 takes the percussion volume down. Macro 7 adds a really wonky delay to the drums, like a pitch shifting delay. Let's see here. Macro 8 takes the kick drums out for nice breaks and turnarounds. We go on to the second set of macros for 9 to 16. And on macro 9, we got a really special pitch down macro, which I've taken, let's see here, 5 different drum samples that are used in the beat. And I've assigned them to pitch down a certain amount whenever I turn this macro, which you will see in just a minute. We're going to have to swap to a different setup so I can get proper audio and you can hear a really good example of what this sounds like. Okay, I think that Beatmaker 3 is a really great tool for live jamming, and I think you can get really creative with some of these macros that are going to give you the ability to do just some really fun stuff when you're jamming. For instance, this pitch down macro here, I've assigned 5 different drum sounds to change pitch as I roll that macro down, really giving all sorts of variety for turnarounds and different sections without really doing much other than just turning a knob as the jam is playing. You know what I'm saying? You can get really creative here. Again, I've got the reverb send on 2 different hats that are coming up here. I've got the reverb send on 4 different percussion sounds that's coming up. I've got the reverb send coming up on 2 different claps and snares. On the no-hats and ride, I've got 3 different samples that are turning down in volume on that. 2 different, probably a different clap and a different snare turning down in volume here. On the no percussion, there's 4 samples that are turning down in volume. On the wonky delay, I've got like a bunch of stuff that's getting sent to that dub station 2 delay. And the no kick is just turning the, the main kick down. You can really do a lot just by turning knobs, because all I've done is program beats here and turn knobs. Okay guys, here's how I'm actually doing the mapping to the sends for the effects. We're going to go ahead and look at the mixer view here, and we're going to double tap on the channel. That's going to open up all of the individual samples in their own channel. Okay, now let's assume, here's some of the ones that I've got assigned, but let's assume that we want this particular channel to go to a send when we're moving one of the macros. All you're going to do is double tap on that send, click on the macro, and assign it, let's say, to macro 12, okay? Over here, you're looking at macro 12. You can open that up. You can rename this, reverb send or something, okay? And you're just going to adjust here where you want the values to be when the knob is at a minimum state, and where you want the values to be when the knob is turned all the way up, okay? So, like, maybe you don't want it going all the way maxed out to the reverb, but just, a little bit to the reverb when you push the knob up, okay? Now just repeat that process a bunch of times for all the macros and make cool stuff happen when you move the knobs. Right on. Okay, we're using the effects send 1 and 2 for this, and we've got a reverb on effects send 1 and a W delay on effects send number 2. The reverb is the EOS 2 plugin from Audio Damage, and the delay is the Dub Station 2 plugin from Audio Damage. Both of those are working really great. Alright, here's how I'm doing some of the other mapping, like changing pitch and stuff. Let's say we want to do it on this hi-hat sample here, right? So we're going to go ahead and just open up the sampler. You can hear that it's that sample, right? And then here's the tuning. So we'll just double click on that. Same as before. We're just going to assign that to a macro. That was macro 11. Here's macro 11. And you can just make whatever adjustments you want. What I'm doing basically is I'm making it so when the knob is at a 0 state here, that it's at a 0 tuning. It's not messing with the tuning at all, right? But then when you turn the knob up, I'm making the tuning go down. So let's say we want it to go down an octave in pitch as we turn the macro. Bam. You start at 0. Whoops. You're going to end at -12 semitones. There's your octave. So when you turn the macro up, you're going an octave down in pitch. Now if you repeat that for a bunch of drum sounds, say 4 or 5 sounds, then when you're jamming and you turn this macro down, quite a dramatic shift happens, and that's pretty cool. I also wanted to note that I am using the limiter from Amazing Noises on this channel, which we'll show you right here. And basically I'm just keeping any peaks in line with this, and I'm also using a really gentle bit of saturation. It's set to 0.11. I don't know how we're getting on the focus there. Just some really gentle input gain of 1.2 decibels. And I'm preventing the peaks from going over -0.5 decibels. Just to sort of keep all the volumes in line on the drums. Okay guys, my point is just how cool I think it is that we've got 16 macros and all the things that we can do with them inside of Beatmaker 3. This was one idea that I had in a way to use the macros with just one bank and all of these one-shots for techno drums. Check it out. Thanks for watching. I hope I gave you some creative ideas on what you can do with the macros inside of Beatmaker 3.